Welcome to Yoga for You, a channel tailored to helping you discover your very own unique yoga practice. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Sagacity Spotlight. Today's guest is the incredibly talented Shannon Liebel. In this talk, we're going to discuss how yoga can add value and quality to your life. We're going to talk about the tips and tricks to develop your very own teaching style and what goes into that. We're going to talk about handstands, very important topic. A lot of people want to do it. She's a handstand queen. Take her advice, hear her out on it. Lots of goodness there. And at the end, we're going to talk about being a vegan, how it is taking over the world, and what it means to be a vegan. If you stick around to the end, we're going to discuss some books and some other goodness that's also linked in the description section below that can better assist you on your journey. So definitely check it all out. But without further ado, let's get to it. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name's Ty, and today I'm joined with the incredible Shannon. She is on this channel a lot. I'm sure you recognize her in some of the handstand tutorials, yoga tutorials, and even meditations we've worked together. She is a busy bee, one of the most busiest full-time yogis I know, but it's an honor to have her here today. So welcome, Shannon.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice to be here.
Yeah, so how's sunny Tahoe doing this spring?
It's supposed to snow today.
It's supposed to snow?
It's not, it's been nice and sunny, but yeah, we're supposed to get a few inches. So it's April. It's okay.
Of
We're
course, of
still like
course.
kind of winter. I'm pretty sure almost every month of the year we've had snow. August might be the only one I can't remember, but
Wow. Well,
yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, that's kind of fun though.
it's beautiful.
You're
Yeah,
used to it.
Tahoe's beautiful no matter what the weather is, so it's fine.
Yes. Especially when you can like come off the mountains and hit a yoga class and just relax away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my studio is like just down the road from my house, which I can snowboard to from Heavenly. So yeah, I can get there quick.
The life. The life.
Yeah, it's great.
How are things? I know that you have been doing a lot of work at Edgewood. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a beautiful spot. I've been contracted there pretty much since they opened. So yeah, I mean Tahoe in general has just been busy because I think a lot of the Bay Area people are tired of being in the Bay, as all of us need to get out and start exploring as the world starts to open. So, yeah, it's been great. All of it's good.
That's awesome. So you're not originally from Tahoe though, no? You found your way there, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I was born in Kansas. Spent a few years there. So if you follow me, you know that I love KU basketball, Rock Chalk. If you follow college basketball, and then I grew up in Livermore, California, so like East Bay area, and then I did my undergrad in psychology at San Diego State. So I was down there for 4 years, and then I moved to Colorado for my master's. So I was right in between Denver and Boulder for 6 years. And then I was in Virginia Beach for 3 years. And I'm just a mountain girl. So I came to Tahoe and this is home now.
Oh, what a beautiful home that is.
Yeah, can't complain.
It's good that you traveled around too. I think it's so important for people to, before they settle down, to get a taste of life in various places to see what really speaks to them, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when I was in my undergrad in San Diego, I knew that wasn't home.
Hmm.
My friends there are my family still. I love them all to death. So that's why I went to Colorado, and then I was in Virginia Beach, and I was like, nope, mountains are it. And Tahoe is awesome because we have beaches. It's just lake beaches. So I
Yeah,
still get some water and some sand, but I get my mountain fix every day, so it's good.
that's a beautiful place to be. Did you teach yoga at all those places, Virginia Beach and Colorado, or when did you get introduced
No,
to
so I
yoga?
actually, well, when did I get introduced to yoga? The path is long, right?
That's true.
My first yoga class was in 2005. It was July 6th, 2005. And I know that because it was the day after my grandpa died. And it was like me searching for how to not completely fall to pieces, I guess. um, so I don't even know how old I was, 22, something like that, 23. But it was at a gym. So, you know, I don't know that I left there being like, that was world changing and my life is so much better because yoga's in it now. It was just kind of like, okay, well, that was an hour of me not crying, so I guess that was good. um, and then, it kind of popped in and out of my life where I would take a class here and there, but I really got into it when I moved to Virginia Beach in 2010. And I just was in like a lot of life transitions and um, was trying to find my way, and I felt like I was really lost. And you know, um, I had my master's in counseling, so I was in the mental health field, and the mental health system out in Virginia was much different than Colorado, and it wasn't necessarily my scene. And so I found there was like a what's that Groupon or something, where there was like a hot yoga studio where it was like, do 2 weeks for X amount of money, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll do that. And the first, the first hot yoga class I walked into, I almost walked straight out of because I was like, this is too hot. Like, I can't
Wow.
breathe. It was one of those moments of like, what am I doing here? And I just kind of forced myself to go. And every time I walked in the studio, I was like, what are you doing? But every time I left, I was like, oh, something feels better. Something, and I'm not going to say that there was like the spiritual enlightenment that happened. It was just like something feels better. And, I kind of attributed it to my body was feeling better. But that's what kept me going back. And then I just got hooked, and I had more time than I had ever had in my life to do something. So I was just trying to fill the void with something. And I ended up filling it with yoga. So I'd go to like 2 or 3 classes a day sometimes.
Wow, that's a
Um,
lot of yoga.
it's a lot. It's a lot of yoga, but it's a lot of hot yoga. Like there was a lot of laundry being done because you walk out and you're just like drenched. Like there's no way you can't even pretend to not wash those clothes. You know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it was a lot of yoga, and I guess it was 2012. They were offering a teacher training, so I was like, well, why not? Um, and that teacher training kind of changed my world. So and then I moved to Tahoe, and I technically started teaching when I moved to Tahoe. I mean, like consistently. And it was like day one I got here, I was like, I'm teaching yoga, that's it. So i was I'd coached gymnastics. I'd done gymnastics from 3 to 17. And then I actually coached a little bit in college, and then while I was getting my master's, I started running like competitive programs. So when I moved out here, I was running a competitive program, so I was only teaching a few days a week. But then there was a shift of, I just knew that yoga needed to be more of my life, and so I opened my studio in 2016.
Oh, so how long did you teach in the Tahoe area before you opened your own studio? Before you knew you needed to anyway.
uh 3 years.
Nice.
I was teaching for 3 years here, yeah, just twice a week. um but the classes I taught started filling up pretty quickly, and yeah, it was just, I don't know if there was like this shift at the gym that I was coaching at of I'd taken the girls to a certain level, and the gym couldn't necessarily accommodate that level of gymnast just because of the equipment and the arrangement of the gym. So then a lot of the girls that I was coaching had to move on and go to a bigger gym somewhere else, and it was, I don't know, it was that heart wrenching. Like those are my, those are your babies in a sense, right? Like I spend so many hours with them each week, and so it was just kind of like this good timing of, it was my sign that I was done coaching, and so I just started biking around town and looking at open properties, and then like 2 weeks later, I had signed a lease, and I
Wow.
feel like the universe was kind of like, "This is what you're doing," and I was like, "Okay."
Yes,
wasn't it wasn't as thought out as I think some people think it was. It was
of
just
course.
kind of like this magical, all the little miracles that make that one magical thing happen. So that's how the studio came to be.
That's awesome. Yeah, when it's so obvious and meant to be, it is just that obvious and you can't deny it. It just feels right, you know? There's probably
Yeah.
very little doubt, maybe a little bit of fear, but how did
Oh,
you feel about signing it?
little bit is putting it nicely. You know what? It's interesting that you asked that question. I feel like when I signed the lease, I felt like I was a fake. Like I didn't know how to run a business. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I was teaching a couple times a week, or it just felt, it felt surreal. Like it didn't feel like that was my life. I was just kind of observing what was happening and being like, oh, this chick's going to open a studio. We'll see how that goes. You know, that was me stepping back and observing like, oh, there's like this big change and I don't actually know what I'm doing, but let's go. Let's do it. Right. I mean, you only live once. You don't know unless you try.
Absolutely.
So
And what is life without a couple good fails? You know what I mean?
that's
Fortunately for
right.
you, it didn't lead to a fail. I mean, your
Yet
studio's well
you don't know.
yet.
You don't know.
It's true. It's true.
COVID made me question many times. We'll
Yeah,
see.
no doubt. But you,
I'm
even
hanging
through
on.
COVID, you prevailed and you received awards, correct? With your studio in Tahoe.
Yeah, well, the studio won Best of Tahoe during COVID for Best Yoga Studio, but then just because of what COVID was, I also won Best Online Event or Best Best Online something. It was because of the online classes that I offered. But it was, yeah, it was like a quick shift. So, I mean, I was with you in Sedona when pretty much the world shut down, right? So
Oh, yes.
we're all just enjoying the energy of each other in Sedona and like bummed that the festival didn't happen, but it's okay. And on that plane ride home, well, first off, we all booked our flight like to leave Sunday night. I think it was that Sunday night. And we actually ended up switching to earlier because there was like chatter that the airlines might stop flying. So we were like, we got to get out of here. Like, there's too many of us because I had a ton of people from my studio come down with me because I was teaching or supposed to teach at the festival. And we were like, we don't have a car. We're going to get stuck. So we all switched our flights to come home earlier. And I remember sitting at the airport with the ladies that came with me, and I opened up my email, and there's an email from Yoga Alliance that was like, hey, we're highly recommending you don't do in-person yoga. Like that's when it was really real. Like I was thinking maybe it's like a couple days of whatever and we'll get back to life. But so I opened that up and I was like, well, I don't think it's a good thing for me to do in-person classes right now. So I'm going to have to send an email to people. And, you know, I reached out to my teachers. And at that point, it was a lot of people weren't even comfortable teaching in person just because it was kind of like that dark cloud of COVID was starting to come to the US.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and then, so I typed up a letter for all of my members so that I could send that email when I got home saying that the studio was going to have to close. And I was like on the airplane, we were all kind of spread out, like, you know, between the girls that had come with me. And I was sitting next to some random person. And I remember typing up the email and there was like tears streaming down my face because I was like, I can't believe I have to shut my studio. Like, this is insane. I would never shut my studio. um, and so I got home, I sent it the next day, and then the next day, everything shut. Like I had
Wow.
preemptively closed it, like just for, I wanted everyone to feel safe and comfortable. And I was like, okay, if it has to be for a week, I'll just do it. And I don't know what that's going to do for business, but then it was like 2 days later, Nevada shut down, California shut down. And then 2 days after that, I was up and running online.
Wow.
So it was like probably 48 hours of me getting no sleep because I'm telling you, I had never heard of Zoom in my life. And I was like, my studio's closed. The only way I can offer my members something is online. And like, you know, at first it was going to be I think it was like 2-week increments, right? So it was going to be like from the middle of March to April or something. And I was like, well, for 2 weeks I can do something online. So I just researched everything I could. I had like people on the other end because I was trying to test my sound and my lighting and all this stuff. So for like 2 days, it was like this mad rush of do something to share yoga with your people because I didn't like feeling like I was gonna just leave them hanging.
Totally.
And then that turned into 3 months. It was it was not 2 weeks. It was 3 months of being online only and not actually being able to go into my studio because there was the stay-at-home order, so I wasn't even able to go into it.
Wow.
And I just taught from home. And I mean, I had one class with 75 people online with me, so
Jeez. Yeah, they
it was,
needed it at that time. They needed it
yeah,
more than ever.
yeah. And I
We
mean,
all did.
kind of, it was also like, well, what else am I going to do?
Totally.
And I knew that feeling because that's how I was in Virginia Beach, where I was like, I had all this extra time that I wasn't used to. And I found this thing that something made me feel better after I did it. And I was like, well, if I'm going to fill my time with anything, I might as well do something that makes me feel good.
Absolutely.
And that's what I did.
And that's such a beautiful practice of awareness too, and just discipline, which sounds like you developed your discipline at an early age, being 3, and that consistency of practice and team camaraderie and showing up for gymnastics at a young age. But still, what I'm getting to is just that ability to recognize that there's this void and now I need to fill it. And
Mm-hmm.
yoga is such a great application for that place in life, because as we know, life brings us these voids. It's unavoidable. And I'm not saying yoga is the fix for everyone through death or loss or grief or challenge, but it is always there for you in a way that can help you healthfully supplement your time, and
Yeah,
it's
I think it helps you. I mean, if I could say one thing, like the thing that yoga hooked me with was like it helped me appreciate the miracle of each moment. I mean, it's that present moment awareness, but it's also the like that it's all just a part of life. Because it's very easy to see the miracles in the good times, and it gets a little bit harder when things get tough to remember that it's all still a miracle, even if it's hard. But like
yeah.
for to just be here, to think about all of the crazy things that had to happen for me to be here in this moment, even if that moment is terrible, is like something just mind boggling, right? And every time I step onto my mat, it's that reminder of like, slow down so that you can remember that everything is that miracle, because it's just nothing happens by coincidence. Like, to think of all the people that had to meet and all the things that had to happen for me to end up in Tahoe, and for me to have the people that are at my studio, and to have all the people that go on my retreats, and just all of the connections, like, it's I don't take any of that for granted anymore. And before yoga came into my life, it was like, I'm I guess I could say I'd throw myself pity parties quite often. It was, oh, life was hard, and I can't believe I went through all that as a kid. And but if I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't be here doing what I love, and I wouldn't be connecting with all these people, and who knows what would happen. I mean, in that moment, you don't know that it's going to take you there, but I think some of the suffering, or the I chose to suffer, I guess, but all the painful events in life, um, they're leading you to a different path. It's not necessarily like it's always a bad thing. It's just shifting or creating something new. So yoga overall has helped me to understand that at this deep level that I don't think I would have gotten to without it. So
Yeah, I love that. And you do such a good job at teaching that. I've had the honor of experiencing some of your in-person classes, but also some of your recorded classes. And you do such a good job at bringing in that stillness, bringing in that powerful present moment awareness, but also still kicking someone's butt. And that's such a fun line to witness and to experience. How would you say that you developed your teaching skills over the years?
so I definitely, well, I'm going to say gymnastics has an influence on what I teach. I come from a gymnastics background, but um, all of the teachers that I've learned from have helped me grow in some way. So I did my first teacher training with Yaks Yoga Concepts. So it was Michael and John Yaks that were running it out in Virginia Beach, and I absolutely adore them. But then by the time I was done with the training, like, I knew I wasn't going to be teaching hot yoga, because in hot yoga in general, you're doing the same sequence pretty much every class you take. It's shifting, and it's not always the same anymore, but when I was in the training, it was like that was the class you taught. And so um, I wanted to be able to share more than just those poses in that series. And I think that was my gymnastics coming in, being like, oh, you should coach them in how to do this. Because there's so many cool and intricate ways to move our bodies, and I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to do all of that. And then I did my 300-hour teacher training in Thailand. And it's a combination of all the teachers that I've ever taken from, and I think that's just how we learn as humans, it's like this collective wisdom in society, right? Like we all learn from somewhere else and we take the pieces that work for us and we leave the pieces that don't. And then as far as like my individual teaching style, so vinyasa, when I first started practicing, I didn't find vinyasa because I started with hatha. And then I found a vinyasa class and I was like, wait a second. Like we're flowing with our breath, like we're moving. And also the vinyasa classes that I took, they were like, if you want to take a handstand, and I was like, hold up, there's like gymnastics for adults. So I was
Yes.
stoked on the upside down piece and the arm balances. But I also realized that when I was able to move quicker, I was able to tune out the rest of the world more because I was so focused on what the teacher was saying. And I was so much more focused on my breath because I was moving breath for breath and I was flowing through the poses. It felt more like a dance kind of, but that world was very familiar to me, probably because of my gymnastics background. And looking back, gymnastics kind of was my yoga. Like you were pretty present while you're standing on a little 4-inch balance beam about to flip, you know. Like
Oh, I bet.
Your mind's not thinking about anything else. And that's kind of what I like to happen in my classes, is that it's that 1 hour where you get to let the rest of the world just disappear and you're just like in the moment and you're feeling good and you're noticing your breath, because I don't think we pay enough attention to our breath. So, but that being said, there's also something about settling in and allowing yourself to find that stillness, because I do think in my personal life, I had a tendency to stay busy so I didn't have to sit with the hard stuff. And I don't know.
Did you say had is in past tense or I'm just kidding.
Still.
Just giving you a hard time.
But so my classes are vinyasa-ish, but I will sit in some poses a little longer than probably a traditional vinyasa class, so that you can like feel all of that movement that you just did, so that you can like pay attention to what that movement did to your breath, and so that you can force yourself to be still, even if it's just for a few moments. But I just know that I think I used vinyasa as a crutch at first because I didn't want to sit with myself. And the more I've done yoga, the more I've been able to appreciate, like yin is my jam in the mornings. Like yin is my
Yeah,
practice in the mornings and I
that's very
absolutely
different.
love it.
That's
So
very
different.
different. So how would you say you found that ability to sit in that stillness in the morning for super long holds in your poses?
Practice
Practice.
with a lot of uncomfortable moments.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I mean, yin for me at first, you just like sit there and you're like, okay, what am I doing here? You know, you're like, oh,
Absolutely.
I feel a stretch or whatever. But I was so used to vinyasa where it was like always moving and feeling the flow. And so this was like a whole different animal for me. And I definitely fought against it at first. But because I fought against it, I had at least been in yoga long enough to be like, if there's something that's this uncomfortable, there's probably a reason. You know, it's not just because I'm like, oh, yin's not my thing. So I gave it a shot for a while, and now, oof, it's it's like the icing on the cake, you know, the vegan ice cream on the cake.
There you go. The date vegan ice cream. Yes.
um, yeah, but it's that mental piece that has given me relief in my life of not thinking that I have to I know I don't have to control everything. I can't control everything. Like there's no way. And that's kind of a nice feeling sometimes. We're like, oh, okay. So I feel like my teaching style has just been, it's like a culmination of my life, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it.
Totally. And it's moved with you. I do know that, and again, I can speak so candidly about this because I've had the experience of taking some of your classes in your studio, your lovely studio in town. But you have a beautiful way of not locking people into I don't know how to say this, without locking people into their experience of yoga being identical to yours. You give people the freedom to experience yoga, however spiritual or non-spiritual, however physical or non-physical as they wish. And that that's like a different style of modification, right? Most yoga teachers understand that modification is okay. You can, half plank or side plank, you can come down on your knee if you want, but yours is like to a point where, you don't really chant much. You don't have a lot of spiritual lingo, but in talking with you, and I think a lot of listeners can pick up that there is a deep spiritual understanding, deep spiritual practice. How do you make it so that your teaching doesn't um, block people in who may not be all for chanting Om?
I how do I do it? I don't I I teach with what I teach with what I'm comfortable with. And I try to, when I run my teacher trainings, I try to instill this probably more than anything else in my teachers, where I want them to teach from a place of authenticity, right? Like what you're comfortable with. So if you want to Om at the beginning, do it. I mean, I've been in classes where like the Om is like this soul awakening moment, right? And it's not that I don't enjoy that stuff. I think part of it is just kind of knowing your audience and where they're at. But for me, I always try to imagine that every person in my class is a beginner and like very new to yoga, even if they've been coming to me for the last 8 years or however long I've been here. But I want the space to be as warm and welcoming as I can. And that to me makes me need to teach from a neutral place of, I want this to be an experience that you create for yourself. I'm just guiding you through your experience. I'm not trying to create an experience for you. That doesn't come from me. That comes from you doing it for yourself. So I just leave the space open enough to where people can take it to where they want to take it. And my spirituality comes through in my teaching when I give those moments for, or at least that's my intention behind it, is when I give those moments for stillness, is when I remind people that their breath is there for them. Because that's what it's done for me, right? Like that present moment awareness and those understanding that like every moment is a miracle. And that's what I try to share with them, because it changed my world so much. I want to do the same thing for them. So I guess I leave it like an open book, and they get to be the author of whatever they want it to be. And so my job is to create a blank canvas so that they can do their thing. And the only way I can do that is by giving them the freedom to do what they want with their body, giving them the freedom to decide how deep they want to breathe, giving them the freedom to decide if they want to set an intention or not. But in order for that space to be there for the intention, there has to be moments of stillness at some point, right? So I don't want it to feel like I'm trying to say this is what yoga is. I want to be like, you get to make yoga whatever you want it to be, and I'm just gonna create the space for that so that you can create your own art, is basically that's what I think when I teach.
It's beautiful. It's so pure too, and it is authentic. It's authentic to you, and I think that's why you have such a largely loyal clientele base, fan base, whatever you want to call it. The people who come to your classes religiously. It's really cool to bear witness to. Also,
Well, it's also I just have really cool people.
that's a
I won the lotto. I just got really lucky with all the people that come to my studio. I love each and every one of them. And I'm so lucky that I get to see them as often as I do. Like, I think that was the cool thing about the shutdown was I still got to like open up the screen and everyone was there. And even if people didn't have their cameras on, like nobody had their cameras on or if they did, their dog would be like laying on their face but it was like the fact that we're all there together, like still having that community together and knowing that like no matter what, we were still that community. And I didn't know how long the online thing was going to last, but it is so wonderful right now because you feel like, I have so many people coming back into the studio for whatever reason it is right now, whether it's vaccine or they're just more comfortable or whatever it is. But it's like I never stop seeing them now, because
totally.
they would either pop on my classes or they would take a recorded class, because my online system, you can take classes that are like pre-recorded if you can't make the live stream time. But then they'll send me pictures of like their dog laying on their face again, because they like they know that I always loved seeing that when I was teaching. So it's been this really difficult thing for me, because I'm not an my presence has never been online, and I really like in-person stuff, but there is something really special about still being able to stay connected even when we weren't able to. So I'm very, very grateful for every person that hopped on with me in whatever form during that entire time. And if you're ever in Tahoe and you did hop on online, please come into my studio and just take a class for free, because I wouldn't still be here if I didn't have the support of all of you. So
So sincere and always so generous. You're so giving with your time and your teachings. It's one thing that's always been such a blessing to be around and to experience with you as well.
oh, thanks.
So I want to go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I can't imagine spending my time doing anything else. So
And the best part is you don't have to. You've been blessed to not have to. So
that's
continue
right. That's right.
to let those blessings rain down around you and smile at them, and life
That's
is
right.
good.
Yeah.
Now you're a handstand queen, okay? Like there's no doubt, there's no other way to put that. You've mastered the art of skillful hand balancing on rails and logs and some
Oh, that
amazing
log was
stuff.
good.
Yes,
When we did that.
that one is really good. What do you, I mean, I know it's probably an hour-long discussion alone, and there's plenty of videos people can check out about how to do a handstand, but if you had to summarize how, for people who are just wanting to get into yoga and they want to do a handstand, what would you say? How can people learn to handstand?
All right. First and foremost, you are stronger than you think, right? Like I want people to go in with the mentality of, and it's amazing you're asking this question, because I used to have before I would do arm balance and inversion workshops, and then pre-COVID, I ended up turning it into a weekly class because I had so many requests for it, and I haven't done it since COVID. And tonight I'm doing one. So
Yes.
it's amazing timing that you're asking this. But in all the years that I've been teaching handstands, it's been much longer than I've been teaching yoga, because I was teaching handstands when I was coaching gymnastics for 13 years. At like you better be able to hold that handstand on a balance beam for 2 minutes kind of handstand, right?
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
it was a different level of handstand coaching when I was running all the gymnastics programs. But in my yoga teachings, I think I see the holdback from people because they don't trust themselves enough to go upside down. And when I teach handstands, I actually don't like teaching people against the wall to start, because I don't want them to think that the wall is their safety blanket, right? Like you're your own safety blanket. You have enough body awareness and enough strength to be able to attempt a handstand without the wall. So usually I try to do some I do some warm-ups, like, make sure your wrists are good. You want to make sure you have the mobility in your wrists first, because you're about to put all your weight on your hands. And if you don't have the mobility to put enough bend into your wrist, then I don't suggest putting all your weight on that. So I just kind of check out people's wrists first. And then, the first time I have people in for handstands, or if I have people come in for private lessons for inversion stuff, I don't actually put them on their hands to start. I do a lot of shaping on the ground first, so that they can feel what their body should be doing when they go upside down. Because once you go upside down, there's like, oh shit, I'm upside down, and you forget. You forget everything else about your body, right? Like legs go crazy, and all you're thinking is, oh my gosh, I'm upside down. So I try to do a lot of shaping stuff on the ground first, and then slowly build up to putting that shaping onto the hands. And for me, I think one of the biggest things I see is that there's like this want to look forward when your hands go down, like the neck goes out, because it stops you from able to go straight upside down. So if you can look like right in between your thumbs, or at the in between your wrists when you're kicking up, rather than looking forward, it'll at least give you the opportunity to be able to maybe stack your hips a little bit closer to your shoulders. You don't have to go upside down all the way, but if you stick your head out, then you kind of sag into the shoulder joint here. You're not able to fully press like the scapula away from your ribs so that you have the length and the strength to hold yourself up. But I would say when you first start to kick up, if you can get out of the habit of crinking into the back of your neck and trying to look forward and just trust yourself enough that like, I'm going to look down right in between my thumbs. So that's your drishti. Like it stays there. And then from there, you can start to stack stuff. If you stick your head out, there's no stacking of anything. And then we have a problem that we have to fix. So, yeah, this could go into a very long discussion. You're right.
Yes, it could. And it's so technical and it's so beautiful.
It's so much. Like it's crazy how much goes into a handstand. You know, I'm well into any yoga pose actually. You know, when I run my teacher trainings, I see people's eyes go really big because I have this big book of like, here's each pose, and we're going to break it down by the action of each body part so you fully understand what your body should be doing in each of these poses. And they get the book and their eyes go big because of the book, but then we start going through it and they're like, there's so much to every pose. And I'm like, there is. You don't have to teach it all every time, you know, but our bodies are so intricate. There has to be so much to a handstand, you know.
Absolutely.
There's so many muscles, there's so many joints, there's so many ways to contract your muscles, there's balance points and ways to like, you know, we have to make sure that you have weight in certain parts of your hand. It's not just in your palm in a handstand, but we also need to push into the fingertips. And you're trying to do all that while you're also trying to like focus and remember what to do with each of those body parts and to not be scared when you go upside down. And it's just, it's handstands, like for me, it's not like I'm like, oh, I want to do handstands now and take a picture in a handstand. It literally changes my perspective, right? Like you're going upside down, you're changing your view of the world. And it's this place that I like to hang out in because I'm just like, I'm done with like regular life. I'm done standing on my feet. Let's just go on the handstand. Switch it up for a little bit. But I just know, like, I feel better after I go upside down. It changes my world a little bit. And sometimes we just need that. So.
Yeah, it's a simple way of just showing yourself that you can do something that is challenging and that
Yeah.
feels good.
And even if you can't do it, like just trying to do it can be fun. Just make sure you know how to fall out of it and then you'll find.
That's it. So do you have any sort of online, right now it's probably just do maybe potentially privates or classes. Do you have any online courses that people could take to figure out how to do this in a more in-depth program?
So right now, I'm working on putting some like alignment-based stuff, some arm balance stuff, some inversion stuff. It's all where my online classes were going to be. I'm going to put the courses on my online platform where my classes are. So right now, you can take live stream classes or pre-recorded classes on my online platform, which you can find on my website. So it's just Stillwater Yoga, LakeTahoe.com. And I have done some like 21 days of wellness and other types of workshops, courses on there. So right now things are just in transition because things are kind of starting to open up. And I'm trying to get my retreat in the fall all scheduled out. And I'm finishing up a teacher training right now. So, but there will be that. I think on this channel, there's a handstand one, right?
There's one.
Maybe.
By the time this airs, there will be one live. It's
Yeah.
going live tomorrow officially.
Yeah, I think you have one. Yeah, things will be coming, but I mean, I love doing. For me, like privates are awesome because I can look at what like you specifically are doing, right? Like if we're gonna do a private, then I can watch your body and like give you the tools that you specifically would need rather than just kind of this overall thing. But at some point, there will be courses. Did you ask a different question on top of that one or no?
No, I think that was it. How can people
Okay.
find out more of this technical instruction that you've mastered?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if you follow me on Instagram, it's just at Shannon Liebel Yoga. You can reach out to me through there anytime. You can ask any questions you want. I'm not the best at putting stuff up on Instagram. I wish I could say that I'm like, oh, I'll put handstand tutorials up for you, but I don't know. Especially right now, I'm really enjoying. I love, again, I love the online thing because I can connect with more people, and people are still hopping on if they're um now I have people that don't live in Tahoe that are practicing with me all the time, and so it's absolutely beautiful. But I'm also really savoring these moments of as when we're all starting to like come out of the holes that we've been
Yeah.
in uh, due to the world situation, and just a lot of the stuff I'm doing is in person at the moment. So, but you can find me however you want.
I love it. Yeah, we'll have all those links down below so you can check it out. We'll also link the handstand tutorial video that's on this page in the description section below. Um, what about your teacher training? Is that mostly online this year? Is this last one you just did, is it online, or were you able to keep it in person?
No. So I kept it in person. So I'm on the Nevada side. So I've been following Nevada rules.
Perfect.
And I've been at very low capacity, but I was able to, I was allowed to have 9 people in my studio. And so I capped my teacher training at 9 people, but we did it in person. Now, that being said, there were some months where, um, you know, wherever people lived in their teacher training, like it might have been like they were at a stay-at-home order. So it's been almost more of a hybrid thing this round, just because I want people to be safe, or if they even had a sniffle, we just like put them online, and we're very conscious of all of that. Um, but I, I went back and forth because technically I could have run a teacher training online, but there's something about the experience of like the in-person training that's why I do it. And I didn't want to switch it all to online. So I just did a very small group of people this round, which has been beautiful.
Of course. It's so good to
Yeah.
hear. I'm glad
Yeah.
you could keep it up and maintain the essence that you value the most through it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Very grateful. It wasn't easy, but very grateful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's coming up new for you? You got anything to report on? You touched on a potential retreats coming back. How about festivals? Can people expect to see you in some of those when they come back around?
I mean, if the festivals will have me when they start again, I'm there. I love teaching at festivals. I just because it's like the in-person connection again, right? Like I get to meet all these people I would never get to meet usually. Um, and yeah, so I am doing a retreat this fall. I had to cancel 4 international ones since COVID, so um, I'm not going to be going international yet. But the one I'm hosting in the fall is going to be, it's within driving distance of Tahoe. Um, and there will be wine tasting involved.
Little
But
teasers. I love it.
but it's all inclusive. So we every retreat I do, I hire private chefs so that we can get plant-based meals every meal. It's all included. The stays included. This round, either a massage or a round of golf is included. Um, and then also a bike tour through the wineries with wine tastings and food pairings, and it's a relax and renew retreat, Ty.
That sounds so amazing.
I
So
mean,
much
wait,
needed.
I forgot to also say we're doing yoga every day too.
Oh yeah, there's that too. There's that little
We
bitty
do
thing.
yoga, we do yin in the morning and vinyasa at night, but I don't know, all the rest of the stuff just sounded so good. I thought I should tell you that.
It's so great. Yeah. I mean, and you're thinking of the end of the year, correct? Dates are kind of still up in the air, but the end of the year, end of
It's going to be
2021.
like September, October. Yeah.
Perfect. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll link again, check the links below. You're going to get a link to her retreat page on her site where you're most likely going to be able to book that if you're interested, if you're in the anywhere in the US and you want to come and travel, make it a point. It'll be worth it, I'm sure.
Yeah. They're fun. They're so good. We have the whole property to ourselves. So, the spa where the massage is on site, there's a pool in the back, there's vineyards out in the back, and it's just our group, small and intimate. It's the way I like it. Be
It's
good.
going to be so beautiful.
Yeah.
Looking forward to
Yeah.
that. So I like to always ask towards the end, is there any information or any literature, anything that's really helped you anchor your teachings, whether that's spiritual texts or maybe just a fiction book or something that's really helped you on your path? Are there any that come to mind?
um oh my gosh, there's so many. um I like to read a lot when I have time to read. Um, and actually, the book Think Like a Monk, like Jay Shetty, has been wonderful. um, and the Four Agreements. I actually just went to a workshop with Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. and Don Jose Ruiz, which are the sons of the author of the Four Agreements, and they wrote the Fifth Agreement. So I just went and did a workshop with
Wow.
them, or like I took a workshop from them, because they wrote the book The Fifth Agreement, and so that was in Big Sur, and um, I don't know, they're wonderful. The Four Agreements is it's one of those books where you read it and you're like, oh yeah, like intuitively I know that, but I don't actually tell myself that every day or I don't live that
Totally.
way every day. You know, like
Totally.
it's just those reminders because I think we have so much intuition about things, right? But again, it's taking that time to slow down and listen to it and pay attention and then have other people like bop you over the head with a book and be like, also like, don't forget.
Yes.
That's one of
Annual
the rules.
reminders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely link those below. What you touched on it. You touched on it for a moment there. I definitely want to open it up for anything to be shared about it. But plant-based diet, how would you say that's affected you in your life, your overall
Huh.
experience?
Well, um, I went vegetarian when I was 11, so this has been like most of my life. I have not eaten meat. And then it's been like 4 years of being plant-based. But so wait, how long's it been? April 10th, just a few days ago, is my 4-year open heart surgery anniversary. So I think I'm very mindful of and that wasn't because I was eating bad.
Yeah,
It
good
was, I was,
clarification.
let me clarify. That's because I was born with a heart condition that needed to be fixed and I worked out too much my whole life. And so I made it worse faster than I should have. Um, but that being said, I think the mindfulness of yoga has also led me in the direction to like see more of the reasons of why I want to fuel my body in certain ways. Because when I was vegetarian when I was a kid, it was like I just didn't like meat and I didn't miss it, and I didn't like milk, so I stopped drinking it, and like it was more just like I don't need that. And now it's like, there's so many things that go into it. It's the health of my body, but that's never been my first priority. Like it's really interesting because my reasoning for going fully vegan was the animals at first. I watched too many documentaries that I couldn't turn an eye to, right? And then you see and you are educated on the environmental impact of eating meat and dairy. And then you read How Not to Die by Dr. Greger, and you're like, oh, also it takes care of my body better. So it's been like this, um, I don't know. It's like you're getting information from all different sources on different reasons to fuel your body in certain ways. And so that's the decision that I made for myself. So it's funny because I feel like I have those conversations with people that are like, what do you eat? And I'm like, I eat food. Like I
Yes,
don't know. It's just kind of like my way of life. Like I don't even think anything. I don't think I have like a special diet. I just eat the way I eat. Um, but it's a good reminder to me that like, oh yeah, this is like very new information for some people. Um, so
exactly.
I actually had at my studio pre-COVID, obviously, I did a vegan or plant-based potluck. So we all came in and we did yoga. And then every person that had come to the class had brought in, they like went and researched, like they're not all plant-based eaters. They just went and researched recipes. And then I asked them to print out like, I think there was like 25 people that came or something. And so they all printed out like 25 copies of the recipe. So that way when people ate it, if they liked it, they could just grab a copy of the recipe. So then that way, like if you wanted to eat a plant-based meal, because that's part of the hard thing, is just the educational piece of like, well, what do I eat? And
Yes,
I don't
big
know how to
time.
cook, and it seems so hard, and like it's just so foreign to people. But I was like, well, if there's 25 dishes and you get to actually like taste test it to see if you like the recipe, and then you can just take them and have like a stack of plant-based recipes to at least like, if you want to try it, you can. So it was really
That's
fun, but
genius. That's a
it was
genius
super,
move.
it was super fun. It was super fun. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I have people in my studio that are curious about it. And so they come and ask me questions, and I'm at least able to talk to them about my experience with it. So, um, yeah, I don't know.
It's beautiful.
I don't think about it that often, because it's just what it is. Like, I'm not trying to go around like bragging that I eat a certain way, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
don't host enough open vegans on the page quite yet. So it's a gorgeous opportunity just to have somebody express how they have come to the decision in their own life, because I think it's important to have that ability to choose, but also have the proper education and understanding of what implementations the choice has on both sides, right? So
Yeah.
that's really all we're here to do. But thank you for opening up a little bit about it and
Yeah, for sure.
sharing. It's
For
awesome.
sure. Yeah.
So in the last closing of the interview, I always just like to have the guest totally channel. What is it there, anything maybe coming through to you that could be applicable to anybody in their path, on their path at this moment? Anything that you'd recommend anyone to hear right now?
I would say that you are the expert of your path. Like, I just had this conversation with people in my teacher training. Like, you don't have to always look for external sources to like learn a whole bunch of things. Like, it's all there for you, but there's not going to be there's no one right way for you. And so to keep that in mind when you are on your path and what you're learning, like any person that you learn from, take what works for you, and then just also know that you can leave the stuff that doesn't work for you. And it's no disrespect to the person you're learning from. It's just, that's not your path. I think it's very easy to see someone do something and then just follow that completely and forget that it's, that's the path they're on and that's what they believe in and that's how they do certain things. But that's that person. And for you to find your true self means that you're on your own path and you get to meet all these amazing people along the way. But also every once in a while, like, do something you've never done before and see what happens. That's it.
Yes. Yes. That's so awesome. So pure. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for making time today for this discussion. It's been amazing just connecting with you and hearing some more of your story, that we get to share with the world. And if anyone has any questions for Shannon, reach out to her. Comment section below is open for that. But we'll link anything and everything important from this discussion below, as well as ways you can reach out to her.
Awesome. Always so good to see you.
Cheers to the next.
Yeah, see ya.
Hey everybody, really hope you enjoyed that talk. It was beautiful to have that experience with that shared guest. We have a lot of very useful information in the description section below, so be sure to check it out. I've also linked any and all videos with that individual in the description below, so check those out as well. It's an honor to bring this footage to you, and I hope you can come back and continue to deepen your practice. Namaste.